All right. Well, thank you all for joining me in this breakout session. Fourth generation. As I'm fourth generation, and I'm going to share with you all some reflections on lessons that I've learned as we're evolving into the 21st century. So I'm Matt Powell. I'm Executive Vice President and fourth generation at Century Fence Company. And I'm going to share some slides with you all. All right, so as we're getting started, I will share a little bit of the history of Century Fence Company. And as I'm doing that, if you could indicate in the chat box what generation you are in your family business, whether it's G1, G2, G3, and so on. Century Fence Company was started in 1917 by my great-grandfather. We were initially a scrap metal business. And over the course of the first 20 to 30 years of doing business, we pivoted into the clothesline industry. We were installing clothesline posts for people to dry their clothes. And over time, we evolved into the fence business. And we were installing fences exclusively in Wisconsin. My grandfather, Tony Bryant, current chairman, he joined the family business in 1960, and over his time, he found an opportunity. In 1969, Madison, Wisconsin was outsourcing pavement marking, and my grandfather decided we're going to throw a bid at the municipality of Madison and see if it sticks. And he happened to be the only bidder for 5 miles worth of road that needed to be striped. And so when he got the contract, he was scrambling. He had to go find a truck, had to go find people to put on that truck, and had to figure out how to put paint on the road. And so he was practicing putting striping in our parking lot on Silvernail Drive in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And fortunately, they figured it out, and it was a success to put down those first 5 miles of striping. And fast forward into the 21st century, we have striped in all 48 states in the continental US. And we install fencing in roughly 10 states in the Midwest. And we have worked on every prison in the Midwest. We have worked with every utility company in the Midwest in installing high security fencing for utility companies. And so I'm going to see if I can look at the chat box and see so we've got first generation companies, Billy Sampson, fourth generation, or first generation, excuse me. So founder of your company, Dan Vole, G2. So potentially a sibling partnership, living into the dreams of your parents. G3, Nicholas Garrett's. So potentially a cousin consortium. If you might have different family units working together in your business. And fourth generation, that is my reality. And same with Andrew Steinhoffel, G4. So my reality in generation 4, I did not have any interest in joining the family business during my childhood. And after college, I did mergers and acquisitions for about a year and a half. Hey, Mike, can you help me with the slide? And I can't get it to. And so for my first year and a half after school, I was doing mergers and acquisitions. And as I was doing that, I started becoming more curious about what is inside that spreadsheet in those valuations. And I came to quickly realize, as Greg Marcus was talking about, people are the most important asset in the business. So because of that realization, I decided to call my grandfather and asked him if I could join the family business. And he said, absolutely. Perfect. And he said, absolutely. And so I jumped into the family business in 2014. And when I walked through the doors, I didn't know what to expect. But when I walked through the doors, I realized we had some work to do. We were still using typewriters, dot matrix printers. And as I was helping our family business we have an audit every year in December, my controller was sharing with me how we prepare for our audits. And so he told me, okay, so Friday evening, you're going to hit print for our inventory, and then we're going to come back in Sunday afternoon and we're going to pick up all the papers. So they were printing for almost 36 hours, our inventory count. So we had a lot of work to do. And what I started to appreciate with family businesses, the only constant is change, as Greg Marcus was sharing with us. And I realized we had to start working on the business, just as my grandfather had in the 1960s. So what I see within family businesses, we seek to withstand the test of time is 3 distinct stages of business. Stage 1 is starting the business. Stage 2 is growing the business. And if we're not working on the business, stage 3 is decay. And what I see is 4th generation and is stewardship. I see pushing the life cycle back into stage 2 and back towards the prime. So I find 3 ways that I'm finding helpful in how I think about pushing us into the prime and staying away from decay. The 3 ways that I'm approaching this with Century Fence Company is through being high tech, high touch, and high trust. High tech, I believe Century Fence is a technology company, and I think I would challenge you that I think all of your businesses are tech companies as well. But if we're not leveraging technology, we are missing out on an opportunity that our competitors will most likely grab onto at some point to better service our customers. I think about technology as taking that filing cabinet and pushing it into the cloud, providing opportunities for collaboration with our teammates, with our customers, so that we can better service them. If that paper or that data is stuck in a filing cabinet, it's tribal. It's not useful to your team. Number 2, high touch. Leaders are with the people. The family works for the business, not the business works for the family. As soon as the business is working for the family, I think that's when we lose our competitive edge and we are in stage 3, decay. So some of the ways that I seek to be high touch is by walking the 4 corners. I try to, on a weekly basis, I am trying to touch the 4 corners literally touch the 4 corners of our shops. I try to say hi to our welders, touch base with our field crews, let them know that they're appreciated. And doing check-ins with people without any MO. So I'm not calling people just when there's issues. I quickly realized that I called a superintendent a couple months ago, and he quickly answered, and he was very nervous. And I said, I was just calling to say hi. And he was so relieved because he thought something was wrong. And that really, for me, that made me realize I need to be checking in with people more. And not just when something's wrong. We need to flip the script and be proactive and let people know that we care. And the 3rd is rowing downstream together through high trust. And this is something that I'm actively working on with our management team and our ownership, is how do we make sure that we are building a foundation of trust with our team? Because sometimes I feel like at Century Fence, our biggest competitor is ourselves, and we're not always aligned. And as I seek to continue to push us to the left and push us towards the prime, that high growth, we need to make sure that our team is on the same page. And it requires a lot of intentionality and communicating clearly. So one of the ways that I'm thinking about that and just starting the conversations with our team is through creating a clear mission, creating a vision that everyone can grasp onto, and defining what are our values, what are our behaviors as a company. And that's a dialogue that we are just starting, and I don't have the answers on it, but I know that that's where we need to go. And another aspect that I'm seeing with high trust, especially with the next generation of workforce with millennials and Gen Z, is cutting a check is not enough. It's kind of like junk food. It It might be good for the moment, but it's not going to sustain the workforce and sustain our team. I'm looking for ways to have vitamin-rich motivation, showing people that you care and showing people that you are intentional in the business. And I believe that we're going to, over time, we're going to create a high trust environment through autonomy, mastery, and collaboration, creating slack in the system so that people can dive in and provide the utmost value and providing discretionary effort instead of just a top-down issuing orders. So I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna see if there's any questions in the chat box.
I have a question if I can verbalize it here.
Yeah, please do, Tom.
Hey, I was really thinking I loved your kind of bell curve there. You're talking about third generation, which was my experience, although I don't serve in the company business now. But what do you do with my experience would be like third generation is where you start to see more and more entitlement, although I've seen that in second generation as well. And I'm wondering, you said you came into your business about 2014. Is that right?
Yes, and it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, you must have seen some versions of entitlement, and I'm wondering how you address that, because that seems to be sort of the front end of the death march.
Yeah, the quote that comes to mind for that, Tom, is the first generation starts it, the second generation grows it, the third generation blows it. And
yeah, there.
I would think it comes down to parenting. For me, being fourth generation, my parents were very intentional in keeping me hungry as I was growing up. I mean, I had to buy my own car. They kept me wanting more and hungry for growth. But I certainly see it in a lot of family businesses, and that it's tough when you get to the third generation and you've grown up with a lot of wealth. It's very precarious, for sure. Easy to go down stage 3 of decay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there are any other questions.
This is Rich Simonson. I have a question related to how you as a family meet and discuss the progress, the investments, the strategies of the business.
Great question. We are actively working on this. We don't have it figured out. I've got it. Can you see this slide, Rich? On my end, can you see a slide that I have up?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, yeah. So what I am working on with our family is, so we have the operation, Century Fence Company. We have a board. I'm actively working on putting together a family council so that we have a space outside of governance, outside of operations, where we can have open conversation of what's a balance sheet, what's a P&L, really providing clarity for the family in a space and a forum for appreciating where the business is going outside of the heat of battle. Really providing an outlet where the family can come together, because I think it's an appropriate space on a board to have discussions and bring in family dynamics into the boardroom when you're really trying to continue to grow the business.
Thank you.
Yeah. Something with for me, we have a non-family member as carrying the torch for third generation. And I'm not sure if there's anyone on this call with your family business where you have non-family members that are in leadership positions. I have found it extraordinarily helpful for me to understand the dynamics of leading from the second chair. And there's a book that I have on this slide, Leading from the Second Chair. It really helps to appreciate the paradox that someone in a second chair has, where you're leading at times, but you're also following. You are looking at the future, but you also need to value the present, and you need to be able to go deep, but also needing to go wide as well as an executive. That has been helpful for me to kind of lean into a different skill set and appreciation for following and leading at the same time.
I'll ask another question if there aren't any more. You had mentioned a board. Is that a board of directors, board of advisors? Yes. How big is that board, and how did that come to be in terms of the family generational evolution?
Great question. We started having a board in the 1930s, actually, right after the Depression. So my great grandfather, he was able to survive the Depression. He put a mortgage on his house to make sure that the company could survive. And he quickly decided he wanted to put a board together. And that has been an invaluable resource for the company. We typically have had 3 outside directors, and then family members, and then the president of the company. So 3 family members, 3 outside directors, and then whoever the current president of the company is. And the 3 outside directors for our board of 7 has always been invaluable. Having people who are running and owning businesses that just are very relevant and understand the marketplace. And we are constantly leaning on them for advice. I can't stress enough how important having a board is to work on the business so that we're avoiding stage 3 decay. And then Elizabeth, were there any family members who exhibited hard feelings when your grandfather let you in? Did you go through a regular hiring process? Great question. I don't think there were any hard feelings when I joined. Fortunately, I've always had a great relationship with all of my aunts. And I think that my grandfather had always expressed to the family that he was interested in me joining, but I never showed any interest until after I was in the workforce for a while in mergers and acquisitions that I then called him. And I did go through a regular hiring process. I applied, and I spoke with the president at the time, and I submitted a resume, and I wasn't coordinated, which I think is key. I went through the process just like everyone else. And I think in the years to come, we will put together a formal process on paper. I think requiring family members to work outside the family business for a while is invaluable. I know that I lean on those experiences quite frequently. Looks like we have 26 seconds if there's any last questions. Thank you for joining me in this session. Sorry I wasn't.
Hey, Matt, it's Frank Falsetti. Just real quickly, tell me about high tech and fencing. Is it coming from the design side of things?
I've built a custom estimating program for us so that we are tracking data, and we've gotten rid of job entry. So we have no administrative costs now.